Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, it's time for Charitable Georgia. Brought to you by Bees Charitable Pursuits and Resources. We put the fun in fundraising. For more information, go to beescharitablepursuits.com. That's BEES charitablepursuits.com. Now, here's your host, Brian Pruitt.
Good, fabulous Friday. It's another fabulous Friday morning. Even though it's a little rainy outside, we do need the rain, and it's finally getting cold out there. Christmas is just around the corner. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We were off last week for Black Friday because the building wasn't open and I couldn't get in, so there was no point in having a show. So we mentioned we got three fabulous guests. If this is your first time listening to Charitable Georgia, this is all about positive things happening in the community. And normally I start with ladies first, but the two ladies I have asked me to start with a gentleman first. So William Thomas from Golf2Grow, welcome this morning.
Thank you for having me.
It's probably unusual for you to get to go first, huh?
It usually is always me first, though, honestly.
Oh, it's all about you, right?
No, it's just people want to see me mess up first.
There you go. There you go. Well, you and I have met and talked, and we have a lot in common. We're both Buckeye fans. And,
yes, sir.
Unfortunately, we didn't beat Michigan again, but that's okay.
Right.
You know, we still maybe have an outside shot. So, we both have a passion and heart for helping others. So if you don't mind, share a little bit about your background, and we'll talk about Golf2Grow.
Absolutely. So, I'll just start first with my wife, just because that's the major part of my life. My wife and I have been married 22 years. We got married as teenagers. We have literally grown up together. We don't know life as adults apart from each other. We have four awesome children, a 21-year-old or soon to be 21, an 18-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 13-year-old. Our three oldest are girls. Our baby is a boy. He is spoiled rotten. And we enjoy the traveling. That is probably a major portion of our life, is traveling. We believe in culturing our kids, getting them to understand and experience other backgrounds and lifestyles and cultures. So we love to travel, especially with our kids. And we enjoy the game of golf, as we'll talk more about. I'm sure that's, at least I do. My wife likes it from a distance.
Well, you're also a veteran. You served in the Navy, correct?
Yes, sir. I
did.
So
thank you for your service.
Certainly.
So, what did you do in the Navy? What was your,
my title and my rating was a sonar tech. But after 2 years, I was injured and spent the last 2.5 years on limited duty in a legal service office, which really helped me transition out the military very well. Made some great connections, got into finance, and that really, to be honest, started my career and where I'm at now, I believe.
So I already know a little bit about this, but you were sharing with Kimberly a little bit. But you are from Ohio, but your wife's from here. So tell us how you got from Ohio to here.
So my mom got remarried to a gentleman here in Georgia, and I, kicking and screaming, moved to Georgia. I was a big deal in Ohio. I hate to sound pompous, but I was fairly good at athletics. So, I had some clout in Ohio. So coming to Georgia was not fun to me. And to be honest, I had never experienced life in the South. I'd never experienced some of the dynamics culturally that maybe the South had, especially when I came here. So that was a huge shock for me. But to be honest, Cherokee County is a fantastic county. If you have somewhere to raise a family, to worship, to play, to start a business, to be involved in the community, Cherokee County is absolutely the place. I would not want to be in any other county, to be honest.
There's a few other counties that have portions of the county that's like Cherokee County, but I've never met anybody who lives in all parts of Cherokee County who talks about the whole county that way. So, all right. So, well, we'll get into your business in just a second, but tell me why you just have this heart for helping organizations in the community.
All right. Well, I think it just comes to, part of it is I and maybe this is a bit personal, but, at 17, I became homeless, and, it was a challenge for me to graduate high school, not because of grades or a lack of effort. It was a lack of an ability to have a place to shower and get to school. And there were people that really, really stuck their necks on the line for me, including my school counselor, that allowed me to live with her the final 6 months of my senior year so that I could graduate. So I have just a real heart for taking those who are overlooked, those that have needs that, especially in most cases, if you just had $1, would make a difference. And in our community, that happens to be a lot of nonprofits that are serving our community that are underserved, that where there's needs that need to be met. So I just have a selfish passion because I know what it feels like to didn't do anything wrong, nothing that you had a choice on. You just find yourself in a situation that life has given you. And if there's some resources, if there's some education, if there's someone that comes alongside of you, there's a difference that can be made. So just because I've personally experienced some things, I just want to be able to help the next individual that is going through that. And I understand that I don't have 30, 40, 50, 60 years of inroads in those services, but there's organizations that have personally been affected by it, that care about that if I can just help partner with them to help them raise money, then they can take their passion and grow with it.
Well, you said it was selfish, but I don't think it's selfish because that's why everybody in this room, I think, does what they do. There's a reason everybody's involved in the community because of part of their story. I mean, I haven't shared my story yet on the show. Eventually I will, but I went through some stuff. 3 of them were life things that I shouldn't be sitting here, but the community was with me and for me. And that's why I do what I do for the community. So, you also are kind of like me. And, even though I don't like golf tournaments doing them, but you like doing them, but you were sharing with Kimberly before we got on the air, you don't go after the big boys as far as the big bucks and stuff like that. It's more the smaller community. And I'm the same way. You raise probably a little bit more money than I do, but I average about $1,000 a month in some of the events that I do. And whether it's $1,000, $10,000 or $12,000, every dollar imaginable for a nonprofit goes a long way. I remember the first time when I started this January doing the trivia that I do, the first nonprofit is Footprints on the Heart, and they deal with people families who lost babies. And when I handed her $1,000 check, I wanted it to be more just because of what she does.
Right.
And she told me, she goes, if you hand me a $20 check, it wouldn't have mattered. And then she said, but you just bought me 5 caskets for the year.
Right.
It's amazing when you get to hear that. So share Golf2Grow, what you guys do. And then you got an exciting thing that you just are getting ready that's happening as well.
Yes, sir. So Golf2Grow really started by accident. As I said, I like to golf. I don't use the word love because I love my wife. And I like my kids a lot, but I like golf. No, I'm kidding. I love my kids, but, I like golf. But we were getting ready to head out of town and I just wanted to have a little get together with some friends. So I asked them, hey, would you guys want to get a foursome together? Let's go play some golf. A couple minutes later, some of the guys in the same circles text me and said, hey, we'd like to play too. Can you book another foursome? A few minutes later, I started getting PayPals and Venmos and money coming to me saying, hey, book us a foursome too. Well, within a few minutes, we've got a huge following or gathering of people wanting to play golf. So I said, hey, if we're going to go out there in this big group, let's raise some money and give it away. It's just, let's have some competitions, raise some money, give it away. And we were able to raise a substantial amount of money in about 2.5 weeks. So my wife said, why don't you do this for a living? And I said, well, who's going to pay me to put on golf tournaments? Like that just seems so superficial. No one's going to do that. So we actually, it's funny because we're going to Chicago this weekend, but last year we went to Chicago and we literally had our napkin presentation of the pros and cons of why this business model may work, who we would target, what our compensation would be if we took any. So we sat down and we said, well, there's a need in our community for nonprofits to raise money. And during COVID, which we saw, charitable giving decreased, not because people are bad people, because they didn't have the resources, the extra money. But what they did not stop doing was playing golf. Like the golf courses was still always booked. So I'm like, and my wife was like, if people need to raise money and they're still going to golf, even if they don't have extra money, they will not cut that expense out. Let's use the community who, 1, plays golf, 2, small businesses that still need consumers to come in their offices and their stores and their warehouses to benefit these nonprofits. So we really pitched to a couple of nonprofits thinking, we'd do 2 or 3 this year and, we kind of see if this was going to work. And within a week and a half, 2 weeks, I mean, it was, can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? It's a no brainer. Can we get on for next year? Can we pay you already now for next year? Can we get on your schedule? Can we get on the waiting list? And, it started by accident. But we've had, this last year, we did 7 golf tournaments. We had almost 400 golfers attend those 7 tournaments. We raised over $58,000. We had 136 sponsors, which, like, that's freaking huge. I mean, excuse my language, but that's freaking huge. Right. And it's exciting to know that we get to turn over a check to our nonprofits. There was a comment made by one of the executive directors, and he said to us, and his whole goal was, and I'm not going to share who the nonprofit is, but most of their monies comes from Medicaid. So their needs are met, but what they don't have is their wants. They don't have updated equipment that the people they serve need to have. They don't have the ability to give their staff a 2-day vacation in Helen, Georgia, so they don't get burnt out. You can't promote that. You can't tell people that, hey, I want to raise money so I can send my staff on a vacation. Because unfortunately, people get in their feelings about that and they say, oh, you're wasting the money. Well, they need it. They have to get a break. They have to get some time off because that stuff gets overwhelming, especially when it's emotional or physical and things like that. So we're able to write him a check and get him a check from these sponsors so that he can give his staff a vacation, something he couldn't promote, but that is much needed. To me, that's daggone cool.
That's awesome.
So that is kind of how Golf2Grow started and where it's at. And what we've realized is that there's an opportunity here in Georgia to really do more than that. Right now, having 7 tournaments a year is primarily because of the weather. When it gets hot, no one wants to play golf like in a tournament because it's a 6-hour event. Nobody wants to be there. And when it's cold, no one wants to be out there. So we're limited to about 7 clients a year. That is the maximum that we can do. So we started looking, how can we do something year round? And that's where the Golf2Grow indoor golf experience came out. So as you've probably seen on social media, we have leased the space. We've got a 4,000 square foot building. We are putting simulators in there. We have started our build out, got the architectural designs in. And the goal is to be live by February, but that'll allow us to take advantage of like days like today, where regular people who just want to play golf, but don't want to walk in the rain, or it's cold, or it's super hot, or they don't have 4.5 hours, can come and play, practice, learn. But then also we can have year-round tournaments. We'll have 4 simulator bays in there, so we can be able to bring on board more nonprofits because we have multiple months we can add to our schedule that right now we just can't. So it's exciting that we're in a community where obviously there's nine golf courses in Cherokee County. So obviously that makes sense, as far as the business side of things, but that so many people just want to be a part of meeting a need. And to be honest, when you take a nonprofit and you say, hey, can you help this nonprofit? A lot of people think, well, if I give $100 or I spend an hour volunteering, it doesn't mean much. So they just don't do it. But if they get to play golf and know that part of their money goes to that, they're like, oh, I'll absolutely do it. So it allows people in the community who want to serve, who want to be a part, but who feel like their dollars don't go far, to still be able to be involved. And from the sponsor side of things, those businesses, I'm a marketing guy, financial guy from, just background, but for a business to want to sponsor a golf tournament, it makes sense for them. They know that 70 to 90 middle-class consumers of products are going to be there, and they can put their service in front of those consumers. So from the standpoint of the sponsor or the business, it makes perfect sense for them. We don't have a problem getting sponsors because they understand the return on their investment. They do 500, they do 1,000. They have 70 people who make 60, 80, 100 grand a year. Their spouses make 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 grand a year. They have 2.2 kids. They have a house. They have, they need new fences. They need HVAC. They need a roof. They need to get plumbing done. So those businesses want to be in front of those type of people. And unfortunately, other than the nonprofit giving a pat on the back or a thank you, they really can't give anything back. But when they do a golf tournament, there's something that business can get back. So we found a business niche where the community benefits, the services that need to be provided from the nonprofits, those nonprofits benefit, and then also the golfers get to be a part of that. So it's been fun. It's been awesome.
Well, you talked about your indoor facility, but you also said something, you're already on a 2-year waiting list. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
So I shared with this earlier. I don't know that you guys know this or have listened to my back shows, but Teresa, being from Bartow County, you probably need to know this. I don't know how many there are in Cherokee County, but there's 840 nonprofits just in Bartow County. And Bartow County is twice the size, or less, 2 size smaller than Cherokee. Mm-hmm. Which is insane. So, I want to go back to your sponsors for a second. So, I know some people have said to me with my events, hey, if you become a nonprofit and you're a nonprofit helping a nonprofit, you find more people giving money because it's more of a tax write-off. It's the same.
It is.
And I don't think people really understand that.
Yeah.
you get more, I think, by doing something like this for the marketing aspect, at the branding aspect, than just the tax write-off. Would you agree?
I totally agree. You get, it's just, you get, for me, it's about feels more than the dollars. Like I like the feeling of doing it. I think it's kind of selfish, but like I heard somebody ask me, or had somebody ask me years ago, do you give your wife flowers because you like the feeling of her getting the flowers and knowing she liked it, or the fact that she likes flowers? And to be honest, give her flowers because I know it makes me feel good because she feels good that she got flowers. And that's kind of selfish, but that's why I do it. Like I like knowing I'm the conduit, and that gives me jacked up feelings. So I'm excited about it more than I'm actually doing it for them. I'm doing it for me, because of the way it feels. So I think that energy comes through. So when we talk to businesses, when we talk to sponsors, and I don't have a problem hearing the word no, and I'll keep asking beyond the first no and the second and the third no. That's why I've been married 22 years too, because I keep asking. But, I believe in it. I believe in what I'm doing wholeheartedly. So I'm not pitching or selling or convincing or coercing. I'm really believing in what I'm doing. And I think that these businesses, when I'm engaging them, obviously they're generally good individuals anyway, but I think they see that through me and through what we're doing.
Well, you keep saying that it's selfish, but I'd like to just tell you that it's not selfish, because you said it makes you feel good, but you're helping somebody else. Even if you're just handing your flowers, flowers to your wife. I'll get it out in a second. One of those can't see past my IT thing. Because there are other selfish people out there who do stuff just for them. Right. Mm-hmm. And while you're doing it for yourself, it's a different reason. Yeah. So I just want to say it's not selfish.
Well, thank you.
It's very commendable.
All right.
So let me ask you this. I've seen some pictures of you at the Canton Business Club. You do some networking and stuff. Well, there's another thing we talk about on here is the power of networking. Mm-hmm. Do you have a positive testimony you can share about networking?
Certainly. So I've BJ McCraney is a good bud of mine that he and his wife have become really great friends of ours. And that has nothing to do with business. It's I got to meet great people. And I have people that are in my circle that I can count on, that I can call upon. I wish I could say there was some business that came out of it. And there, I guess there has been maybe. He's done some sponsoring, some small sponsorships there. But it's just a good friend. And to me, this. So I don't want to keep talking too much, but I grew up without my dad. So I got really attracted to male leadership. And like, I don't cry very often, but if men cry, I cry. And if men disappoint me, I get broken. I've had some mentors in my life, some leaders in my life that have really disappointed me, because I've always been looking for male leadership, and I latch on to male leadership. And when they disappoint me, it literally breaks my heart. So I look for strong men, strong leaders, and people that I can have relationships with. And to me, that's been the best thing that's come out of networking is I've got, some people that I've added to my foxhole that, if something were to happen to my wife or to my kids, or if you needed something, I had a flat tire or whatever. Just simple stuff that I know they'd be there. And, so I wish I could say, some great business. I don't really.
Well, there's all things about networking, because I think people have the wrong mentality when it comes to networking, right? I was one of those first people when I first networked. I was a hungry sales guy. Here's my card. Here's my card. Here's my card. Let me sell you. Let me sell you. And that's not it. It's about getting another person, establishing that relationship. And it's all about them, not you. I've got a good buddy who became a good friend of mine from networking, like you're talking about, named Kevin Harris. And he has a nonprofit, All In, All Out. He listens every week. So I pick on him because he's the one that I got started about crying. So you talked about men crying so I made him cry 4 times in one night. So if you're around him, you'll probably cry. You're welcome, Kevin.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. You started a business, obviously Golf2Grow. First of all, it's kind of obviously in the name, but just tell me why you chose that name.
Well, I'm big on alliterations. So I like the double G's. Our kids' names are Madison, Mackenzie, Macy, and then my son's name is an upside down name. It's William. So I'm very big on that. Their middle names are Joy and Grace. I'm weird. I like patterns. So it just made sense. And I wanted something to connect it that was different than letters. So I Golf2Grow. It just, maybe if we would have thought it maybe differently, there may have been a different name, because people are asking us, well, do you guys do kids lessons and stuff? And we're like, it's coming, but it's not there yet. Cause right now we just host golf tournaments. That's our primary model now. But that it was the alliteration, and I wanted to separate the words with a number. So it just made Golf2Grow was it.
There you go. Awesome. So you mentioned, obviously you're already on a waiting list for 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. Is it just Cherokee County that you will serve people, or you work with anybody outside of Cherokee County?
That's a good question. So we do have one, that we've hosted this past year that was in Fulton County, and that we'll do again next year. They're already in the books for next year. And the primary reason we did that is the individual who's on the board, is a mentor of mine that I've known for 20 plus years. And I have a heart for what he's doing in his community. And when he asked me, I couldn't say no. If it would have been anybody else, I would have definitely said no. I don't want to drive to Roswell. I don't want to go that far. And again, there's so much need in our 434 square miles in Cherokee County. Like, there's so much need here. So I'd much rather be in Cherokee County. And I guess to be logistically sound, I have connections here too. And it's easier for me to engage businesses where I'm actually here and I'm actually engaged, and I have some kind of, hey, I've used your services, or I've been there, or I've passed by, or I've seen your sign, If I go out to Fulton County, I don't have that same impact. And, I'm just a regular old little guy. Fulton County is maybe above my pay grade. It's, nothing bad about the people there at all, of course, but it's above my pay grade,
Right.
Cherokee County, more my people.
Right. But if somebody wants to talk to you, you'd probably talk to them.
To the chagrin of my wife, yes. Because I'm like, I'll help you. I can do it. I'll fit you in the schedule. My wife's like, no more William next year, or the year after,
So without giving away too much of the secrets or whatever, can you just give us a brief rundown on how it looks like when a nonprofit approaches you, or vice versa?
Absolutely. So, we sit down, and my first thing is what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Dollar wise, in the timing, what's your ask of the community? Do you want the dollars, or do you want to be more known? Do you want golfers to see who you are and what you're doing, or are you just trying to generate money? And neither one of those are bad. I mean, if you need money, you got to get money, of course. But if your goal is just to get the visibility out there, that's important too. So we just find out what their goals are. We find out what their time frame is. We ask our clients, we need at least a minimum of 6 months to get in a tournament. We are not doing it any sooner than that. So if you have a youth mission trip in March next year, I'm not your guy. I can't help you. I'd love to, but I can't. It's just not fair to you. I'm not going to do as good a job, and I'm going to start stressing and pushing, which doesn't do anything well for your cause. So at least 6 months. We go through our fee structure. I am a big fan of being paid based on results. I've never been a really good salary guy. Even in the Navy, that's probably why I didn't stay. Excuse me. Is I don't like getting paid just for my time, because I only have so much time. So I'd much rather get paid on my efforts. And that's how our company is compensated. We get paid based on the results we provide. We don't charge them billable hours. We don't ask for a $5,000 retainer. We say, hey, if we raise XYZ dollars, here's the percentage we ask to get paid, so that we only get paid when we produce the results. It doesn't stick the nonprofit in a hole. They don't have the money to pay me a $5,000 retainer. I can make $5,000. They just can't pay me that up front. I need to get paid as the results come in, as they're getting checks, as they're getting their compensation from their various sponsors and golfers and things like that. And then we really look at their warm market and who they know, who they serve, and who has served them. If, and I tell people, if my barber was unwilling to give me something to donate to a golf tournament, I'd find a new barber. If I'm going to support you and patronize your business, I'm not asking you to give me $1,000, because you may not have it. But you can give me a gift basket with a free haircut and some lotion and some skin cream. If my wife goes to the salon and they're unwilling to donate something, we're going to find a different salon. And that may seem harsh, and I tell my clients that if you have people that have done your lawn for the last 6 years at your place of business or your place of your nonprofit, and they're unwilling to support you in your golf tournament, you need to find a different maintenance system, a maintenance care provider. And sometimes that's kind of a bit harsh. But if you patronize someone's business, they ought to patronize you back.
Yep.
So we go through and we'll sit down with our clients and say, hey, who on your board has a business. Well, let's try to get them involved. Who do they use for the services that they provide at their home and their place of business, their place of worship, at church or whatever it may be? So we generate 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 names of potential contacts that they're already close to, that like them, care about them, love them, have supported them, have given them money before in the past. And then I engage them and say, hey, look, this is what it looks like to be a sponsor in a golf tournament. These are the pros and cons. These are the perks. This is the kind of return on your investment by being involved, in front of 70 to 90 middle class consumers and being around 15 to 25 other businesses that are sponsoring. So you have the opportunity to network and engage as well. So we really articulate that clearly to our clients. And then we tell them, let us do the work. We'll do the work. We'll ask you permission. If we get a sponsor that comes in, we'll ask, 'cause there's some nonprofits that say, you know what, Bacardi Rum Company here in Woodstock, Georgia, they want to give $1,000, but my nonprofit's a church and they don't want that to be their sponsor. Okay, let me ask you, do you want this sponsor? No, we don't want that. Local CBD store. We're a sports organization. We're a sports nonprofit. We just can't have that. But then there's other ones that are like, I don't really care. It's money. We'll take it, so, but we just go through and tell them what we anticipate. And then we tell them to kind of sit back, wait till tournament day, and then we'll ask you for volunteers, and then we'll give you a big check. You'll have gotten checks throughout the months as they're coming in, but we'll present a big check. We'll ask you your reviews. We'll ask for your thoughts, and then we'll really do a debrief about 2 weeks after. We'll submit the solicitation report to the state because I'm licensed by the state to solicit money for nonprofits. It's unfortunately a nefarious industry of people taking money from nonprofits. I'm licensed to do it. So it's our company. And then we just see if they want to do it again next year and, or if we want to do it again next year. Sometimes there's pulling teeth that happens. Like, I need your list. I can't call anybody. I can't reach out to a business if you don't give me a list. So we'll determine if we want to engage them again. But every one of our tournaments have been awesome. So
do you have opportunity for people in the community that maybe can support you by volunteering at the tournaments? Is that available?
We have a ton of people that show up. We have usually 7 to 10 volunteers every week. Some of them are consistent. Some have come twice or 2 or 3 times. So yes, we have and need that. And it's, they get a free lunch. They get to meet some people. They get to hang out on a nice day on a golf course, driving around a golf cart. So there's worse things that could be done, on a tournament day. So, but yes, we love volunteers.
Awesome. Let me ask you this, because I'm sure there's some people that listen to the show that are thinking about wanting to be their own boss and starting a business. What advice can you share for that?
So I played spades a lot. Spades is my game. And I have there's a saying, if you're gonna be a monkey, be a gorilla. And I have a pretty hairy, big, audacious belief in myself. I believe I can do any and everything. There's nothing I can't do. I mean, I really believe that I put my mind to, or otherwise I won't do it. Like, the reason I'm not good at pickleball is because I won't play it. But the reason I'm good at running our business or leading our business and leading my household and being a father and being a husband is because I believe I can do it and I'm going to get it done. So I would say the first advice is just believe that you can do it. Whatever your goal is, whatever your idea is, there is somebody and several somebodies that could use that vision, could use that service, could use that product. So go do it. And then 2, move everything behind it. I've leveraged my dollars. I've leveraged my energy. I've got my wife on board. Like, I've hooked her on it. So, you just can't kind of tippy toe into it either. You've got to get behind it. And then lastly, I'll say, tell everybody. Beyond this, the tax write-off of it, I tell everybody everywhere so I can write off what I'm doing. I mean, that just makes sense.
Right.
If I'm traveling, hey, guess what? I run golf tournaments. Write off. This food is good. You like golf? Write off. That makes sense to do it that way. But I'm telling everybody, one, because you're accountable to them. Like, I'm accountable to what I said I was going to do now. Like, I can't go back on this. I can't go hide somewhere. I've told everybody this is what I'm going to get done. So it holds you accountable. And you get people that are cheerlead you and champion you, that will say, you can do it. You can make it. You've come so far. And to be honest, sometimes when the money's not coming in and everything's going wrong, those are the things that get you through. Is you can do it. So yeah, those are the three pieces of advice I would say.
Awesome. How do you get the word out other than your networking and your social media and your website? How do people find you? I mean, do you guys do any marketing for your business?
So my title's the director of marketing. But I'm not good at it. We have some stuff on social media. We have some ads that we run. We do some stuff on Google and YouTube. But it's really been grassroots. It is really been me engaging initially some nonprofits, those nonprofits sharing what we were doing, and then those nonprofits contacting me. We have a good problem, which is as I don't have to market as much anymore, which is kind of weird to say that in just over a year in business. But we just haven't had to, which is kind of cool.
Well, you're a niche because there's a lot of people and golf tournaments are popular. Mm-hmm. And nobody likes doing them. Now somebody likes doing them. And there you go.
I love it. I like it a lot. Yeah.
All right. So can you share where your indoor space is going to be?
Yes, it is in Towne Lake, behind the Chipotle. So there's, right by Korean barbecue, the K-pop, Johnny's Pizza. It's right there on the corner. It is the largest space in there. Again, it's 4,020 square feet. As I said earlier, we'll have 4 indoor simulator bays. They're each about 340 square feet. They'll have inside the simulator, there is cameras in there that automatically records your swing. It shows you instant replay on what your club face was looking like when you hit the ball and made contact. It gives you stats. It allows you to really be able to track all the things that you're doing. There's an app that comes with it. Inside the space, there's also a 7-foot bar top that'll be there. There'll be TV in there so you can watch and hang out and have some fun. Also inside the space, there's about a 300 square foot putting green with 5 holes. So you'll be able to practice. It'll be a little undulated. So there'll be some actual real feel putting. We'll have a large lounge members area where there's a 86-inch TV, fireplace. It's going to be really, really cool, really good space, to be and have fun. As far as the food that we'll have there, we thought about having, a restaurant in there, but then we'd be competing against our community. So why not just use the community that's already there? There's 8 restaurants between Johnny's and K-pop and my place, and Soho Bagel and Azumi and Papa John's and what's the Cupcake Alicious or whatever it is down there. So Small Cakes. So there's so many restaurants that are already in the plaza that, we want to just use those businesses. So we'll be able to utilize those organizations, those companies, those businesses to provide the food. So it'll be an awesome space.
Awesome. All right. So, real quick, share how people can get a hold of you in case they want to talk to you about your services, even though they may be a couple years down the road.
All right. So I'm really old school. You can call me, 770-883-8493. But for those who aren't old school like me, you can certainly go to our website, www.golf2grow.com or golf2growindoor.com. Or you can email us at william@golf2grow.com, but I prefer the phone call. I will respond to an email. It just may take a minute. So if you call me, I'll answer.
So, and that's the number 2, right? Not the word spelled out.
That's great. The number 2. Thank you. Golf, the number 2, grow. GROW. I've had people spell it like they're from Louisiana. GREAUX. I'm like, what that? This is not a, Tammany Parish.
Yes, there you go. There you go. William, thanks for coming and sharing a little bit. Don't go anywhere. We're not done with you yet, but we're moving out to Miss Kimberly Jerguson. Kimberly.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Welcome this morning.
Thanks for having me. You
realize you've known me since like 2008, right?
I know. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're here on behalf of Wildlife Action.
Yes.
But you do a lot of this other stuff within the community. You do hair and all kinds of different stuff. So we'll get into Wildlife Action and what you do for them and some events coming up. But if you don't mind, share a bit about your background.
I was born and raised in Cherokee County, so I have a lot of strong feelings to doing things in the community here. I kind of have my hands in a little bit of everything. I bartend. I work at Gunsmoke Gun Store. I do hair for weddings and events. I, work for nonprofits, volunteer for nonprofits. So, little bit of everything.
So I'll just go in and ask this because obviously because you're from here, but why is it so important for you to be part of the community?
I was growing up, I had some things happen as well that, I needed a lot of community to support with, and the community was always there for me. So it's important for me to give back and be there for the community. And as he was saying, a selfish reason. My love language is gift giving.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel the same way, that I'm being selfish because of how it makes me feel, but I love giving. It's a wonderful feeling. It's same at Christmas. Like, I'm the person that goes and buys 20 presents per person because I just love giving to people.
Right.
And if it's for a good cause, it, makes it that much stronger.
Well, I think we're all the same way when we feel like it's selfish, but again, it's not, because it's not like you're doing it just because it's going to benefit you financially, whatever the case is. You're not flaunting it. You're doing it for other folks. So again, it's commendable. So don't use selfish. All right. So again, you do stuff with Wildlife Action. So if you don't mind, share a little bit about what they do and the organization, and you got some things coming up for them. Yes,
definitely. Wildlife Action of Georgia. We are in Ackworth in Cherokee County off of Lake Allatoona as our property. We lease property from the Corps. It's right on the lake. We have a lodge. We have a campground, hiking trails, different lodging areas, archery range, BB gun range, all things like that. It's a wonderful spot for families to bring their children. If you need something, nice and wholesome to do, you want to be outside. It's a great learning experience. We have a lot of homeschool opportunities there. I got involved with Wildlife Action through Gunsmoke because we would, always do the gun transfers for them for their banquets. And I did that for 2 years, and then I always helped with the events when I was there. So they asked me to, if I wanted to be on the board, and, was very grateful. So I've been on the board now a few years, and I've become the fundraising coordinator. I love planning events and the gift giving, but we are 100% grassroots, feet to the ground organization, and all monies raised goes 100% back into the community throughout the year. We have one main fundraiser is the banquet, and we use that money throughout the year for summer camp for kids, a youth hunt, a disabled youth hunt, a turkey shoot, pumpkin carving, all things like that. So everything we do is free to the community.
So I got to come to the banquet. Stone is actually on board too. So he is, that's big for, I know he loves doing that stuff, and he loves being a part of that, organization. So, and which was a great event, by the way. So, you talked a little bit earlier before we got on air that even the higher ups, most organizations, there's one or two people that are employed by the organization, but you were sharing that everybody's a volunteer, even the higher ups.
Yeah. Everybody is a volunteer. Even the president. So it's 100% volunteer. And like I said, that's 100% of the money raised goes back into the community.
Can you share how the organization got started?
I can a little bit. Sorry, I
wasn't
prepared for that. Is out of South Carolina, Mullen, South Carolina. A guy started it, I believe, in 1977. Then it started spreading with local chapters across different states. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe there are 6 chapters in the United States. And with this one being in Ackworth, which we actually, just to plug, just got chapter of the year.
Awesome.
So that was very exciting for us. But he felt there was a need in the community. He wanted a grassroots organization that all of the money raised did want to go back. He wanted to go back into the community 100%. And that's how he started it. He was very big on wildlife and conservation and preservation of land and animals, which is basically what the foundation is based on. We teach the conservation and preservation, like I said, of land and animals. We teach the Second Amendment and ethical hunting. To our slogans to put back more than you take. So we want everything that we put in the community, we want the community to put back too, so that we all become better.
Right. So how does it look like? How can the community get involved with you guys? I'm sure there's obviously, other than the financial aspect of donating money, how can other people get involved and help Wildlife Action of Georgia?
We always take volunteers, really for anything we do. We also do community service on every Saturday. So even if you're not mandated to do community service, but you want to do something to help, you can come out and help on the property. We always just are upgrading the property, making things look better. Then we always need volunteers for events such as summer camp or the turkey shoot, pumpkin carving, the event coming up. We can always use volunteers. So you can be involved that way, or you can get a membership. The membership, I believe, is $50 a year. And that gives you access to the property all year long as much as you want. So you can come out to the lake and sit on the dock. go fishing. We have fishing poles there for everybody. We have kayaks you can use. So that's a way you can be involved, and you can get a family membership as well for your whole family. And really, I mean, in anything anybody wanted to help with, I mean, we were grateful since it is all volunteer.
Right. Before we get to your upcoming events, because I know you want to share that, but before we get to that, with you doing everything you do in the community, do you have opportunities to network yourself? And when I asked this question actually when Scotland was here, and she shared that events are networking, and they are.
Yes.
You know, you don't think of like the Canton Business Club, Woodstock Business Club as your typical networking groups, but everything event-wise is networking. Do you have a positive story you can share about networking?
Well, one positive story, I mean, networking, obviously I know you from Chad. And I know he's been on the show, but had you not been at the banquet, I wouldn't be on here today.
Well, there you go.
So.
There you go. You can thank Stone too for that.
Yeah.
So, awesome. All right. So, share about, you've got some upcoming events. You got one that was actually, I guess, supposed to be tomorrow, but you've moved it, but go ahead and share what that is.
So we are having a polar bear plunge on Lake Allatoona. It'll be December 17th at 2 p.m. It's a Sunday. Basically, I started this last year for a family friend that I went to high school with who has ALS. He was declining very, very quickly. He had just had a newborn. She got pregnant, and 3 months later, he was diagnosed. So he was declining very quickly, and God was just pulling on my heart to do something for them, but I didn't know what to do. I was scrolling on Facebook. I saw a polar bear plunge in on the coast of Georgia to raise money for sea life. And I was like, well, that would be really cool to do something like that here, but where would we do it? And I was like, oh, well, we have property on the lake.
There you go.
That's how it got started. So I just, hit the ground running and tried to get sponsorships, tried to get people to sign up. It's $40 to sign up. It includes a t-shirt. All that money raised goes to the family. We ended up raising, and you were talking about dollar amounts, and you were as well, whether it's a $20 check or $1,000 or, to $12,000, we ended up raising $2,500 for them.
Awesome.
And it put her in tears. I mean, she's like, you don't know how much this helps. No, it wasn't 10 grand, but for a family that's struggling, I mean, that's huge, and then Wildlife Action also gave them some money along with it. So it turned out to be a really positive event. They asked me to plan another one this year. So this year, the family we picked is, her name's Savannah Bailey. She has cerebral palsy. She was born with cerebral palsy. She is wheelchair bound, and she currently needs a lot. She was put into a home. Her main caregiver died, her mother, and she got put into a home after that, where she got 3rd-degree bed sores. Her aunt came in and took her in, and now they need their house handicap accessible. Like right now, their shower doors are ripped off, the floor is ripped out, so just so they can get her in the shower. She also is looking to get a robotic arm so she can feed herself. So that is what we're raising the money for this year.
Well, if there's any contractors out there too, I'm sure if you want to donate, they'll help you.
That would be amazing.
To help to do that. So
that would be amazing.
For those listening who may not know what a polar bear plunge is, tell them what it is.
Basically, it's freezing outside and you go and jump in the water.
Yes.
So the only downside of doing it in the South, on the lake is we drain the lake every year. So the lake is lower, so we can't jump off the dock. So we literally just run into the lake, which makes it a little more painful, I'd say.
Yes.
But,
wow.
Can I ask
but
a
it worked
question?
out well.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for those who are conscious about the tax deductibility of it, if they donate it, it goes through Wildlife Action.
It does.
Georgia,
It all
so
goes
it can
through.
become a tax write-off.
Yes,
Okay, awesome.
exactly. It all goes through Wildlife Action. The sign up, you can go to wildlifeactiongeorgia.com, and there's a link at the top of the page saying 2023 Polar Bear Plunge. Everything goes through Square, so it automatically gives you a receipt from Wildlife Action.
Cool.
So yes, it is tax deductible.
Awesome. Let me ask you this, because obviously you weren't part of founding this, but you're volunteering and you're on the board. For those people who are listening who have thought about, man, I want to be a part of a nonprofit. I don't know how, but I would love to talk about volunteering or stuff. Just give some advice for somebody, because there are so many nonprofits out there.
Mm-hmm.
and different things like that. Can you give some advice to somebody listening who might want to do something like that?
I would say, honestly, follow your heart and do what, gives you passion. I have a strong connection with Wildlife Action because of how it started, how I got involved with Gunsmoke. Obviously, I'm a big proponent of the Second Amendment. And that was one thing that was important to me, and to teach gun safety to children. I think that's overlooked quite often. And that is one thing we focus on is gun safety with kids, and just the knowledge and, everything about that. So that was one of the passions that drove me to Wildlife Action. The other was that it was grassroots, that everything stayed in the community too. So I would say my advice is find something you're passionate about. I am very passionate about Wildlife Action of Georgia.
Well, and you mentioned too about being strong because you believe in the Second Amendment, and I'm sure you have guns, and like I shared a few times on this, like with Kevin that I mentioned, All Out LM Ministries. I can be passionate about helping somebody outdoors, or somebody with an addiction, or somebody who's lost a child, but I've never personally been down that road. So it's not as strong as somebody who has experienced that and helping them. So,
well, and I will say, it's a little personal, but having a gun has saved my life twice, which is one of the reasons I am such a big proponent of the Second Amendment.
Right.
I think it's important. I was a single mom for 13 years and, was his protector. I felt like I needed to be able to protect myself and my child. And I did having that right.
Which, by the way, I can't believe how big he is.
I know.
It's crazy.
Going to college.
I feel old.
I feel old. And he even volunteers too, which, he volunteered at summer camp this year. So even if there's people listening out there that want their kids to be involved in something, it's a great organization for that as well. We always can use camp counselors and just group coordinators, like summer camp. It's a lot of fun. We do fishing and kayaking and hiking, and we always have guest speakers, and it's swimming, a lot of fun.
You talked about it, the property being in Ackworth, and people are like, well, that's not Cherokee County, but did you know that Ackworth is the one city that's part of 4 different counties?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, share about how people can find out the website and things like that, and if people want to help with volunteering or any of the fundraising, can get a hold of you? And if so, how can they do that?
Yes. So if you want to get in touch with me, specifically for the polar bear plunge, I'm old school as well. You can text me at 678-697-3349. I say text because I'm not sure of all the random numbers, but I will answer a text right away. You can also call the organization at 770-924-7464. That is the president's number. And he will answer any questions you might have. If you want to sign up for the polar bear plunge, you just go to wildlifeactiongeorgia.org. I said .com earlier, but it's .org. There is a banner at the top that says 2023 polar bear plunge. Just click on that and it'll take you to register through a Square site. It gives you also a description of Savannah and what we're raising money for. There will also be, as I said, you get the t-shirt. We will also have fellowship and hot chocolate after the plunge, and with a silent auction as well.
Awesome. I think I know who's doing that.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Kimberly, thanks for coming on and sharing a little bit of your story, and then about Wildlife Action of Georgia and the things you got coming up, but don't go anywhere. We're not done. Before I come to you, Teresa, I wanted to ask, William, do you have any more golf tournaments this year that you got going on that you need any volunteers or sponsors for?
We are finished for the year.
Okay.
Our next tournament is not until March. And then we have one March, April, and May. So, certainly we'll take sponsors for all of those. And then as you want to volunteer, feel free to text, email, or preferably call me.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Now we're moving over to Miss Teresa Carter from Jazzy Hearts Foundation. Teresa, thanks for being here this morning.
I'm excited to be here.
You are in the process of getting your 501c3, trying to work on that, but you have a very personal reason why you're starting Jazzy Hearts Foundation. So, if you don't mind just sharing your story, and I commend you because this is very fresh for you. Right. So, if you don't mind, and you might want to slide that over there, Kimberly, just know, there you go. But just share your story and what you're doing, and people need to understand, about organ donation, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, but go ahead and share your story.
Well, I guess I should start with my why, who is Jazzy Carter is her name, but everybody came to know and love her as Jazzy. She was born a healthy baby, so I was blessed enough to be able to have a healthy pregnancy and a normal baby for the first 10 months of life until one day she stopped breathing at school. That was the first indicator that there was something wrong. We found out a couple of days later she was transferred to Eggleston, and we found out she had restrictive cardiomyopathy, which congenital heart disease is usually found in 1 in every 100 children are born with some type of congenital heart defect or disease, which she isn't 1 in the 100, but she also happens to be in the 1 in 1 million with the restrictive cardiomyopathy, and was also the youngest that they had ever seen. As soon as they had told me the diagnosis, of course, the only, not necessarily a cure, but the only thing that could be done for that was a heart transplant. And so it was just a matter of keeping her alive long enough to be able to receive that heart transplant whenever the time would come. I say that she was created with great purpose, as I started this organization, with great purpose, as carrying on her legacy, which everything about her was just rare, I guess. Even the multiple times that she went into cardiac arrest, it's not most people survive from that. And she did 5 times survive from cardiac arrest before having that transplant, thanks to CPR. And of course, the hospital staff, some of those times she was already in ICU, and, things already being there was a big help too. And the biggest thing, though, that really kept her alive was her having a Berlin heart put in, which was something that was normally created for a different type of cardiomyopathy than what she had. It wasn't supposed to work for her, but she was one to always just test the medical capabilities of what science can do, what her doctors can do. And they were just, everybody knew and loved Jazzy. And she was just like this big puzzle they were just trying to figure out, because she was different. Her case wasn't, not that any child's congenital heart defect or disease is easy, but a lot of them are, there's certain ways that they have seen as successful in the past with other kids. And in her situation, there wasn't a whole lot of options other than the transplant, and she wasn't going to make it to the transplant. So her surgeon was willing to try something different with her. And because it worked, which we were happy, it was a very slim chance that it was going to work. Because that worked, she was able to help save the lives of 4 other kids just at Eggleston alone.
Wow.
So that's why, I say that she's created with great purpose in the medical aspect of things, because, it was like a ripple effect. Because that worked for her, it also worked with 4 other kids at Eggleston. That's 4 other families that were able to experience the most amazing gift on earth, which is organ donation. That's the most selfless thing that any family can do. Whenever they've lost somebody, is to decide to donate, their child's organs to help save somebody else's kid that they don't even know. And so I guess we fast forward. She's doing good after her transplant for a while. And there's a lot of routine procedures and checkups and things that these kids have to go through even after a heart transplant. It's not a cure like a lot of people think it is. It's just really, it's a bridge to a second chance at life to keep them going. But I think it's 80 to 85% of these kids that have these heart transplants wind up needing a second one. The biggest leading cause of death for pediatric heart transplant recipients is something that's abbreviated CAV. I think it's cardiac allograft vasculopathy. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm not good with all the medical terms, which is ultimately what had, sent her to heaven. But she was, she developed it so faster than her doctors had ever seen happen before. It also happened so soon after transplant. It normally doesn't happen until 10 or 15 years down the road, after a transplant. This is the reason why they do these routine checkups, is normally they're able to catch, this is a disease that develops in the coronary arteries, and they're normally able to catch it within, in enough time to be able to hopefully relist the patient and hopefully be able to have that patient, another heart if they can live long enough. And in her case, it just happened so faster than I'd ever seen it happen before. She had her her 1-year checkup was only a few months before she wound up having this disease that came on, the CAV, and her coronary arteries were perfectly healthy. So they were very shocked to see that, that this was happening and that it happened so fast, and they had never heard of it before. So now they're having to reevaluate how they can, different ways of how they can check coronary arteries in these heart transplant recipients. And, well, she actually got talked about at it was a conference in Chicago that one of her transplant doctors had went to, because it had to get, brought up. But the issue is you can't check the coronary arteries more than once a year because it's an invasive procedure, as a lot of these other procedures that have to get done for these kids with CHD. And so that's the reason, that's one of the main reasons why I started this foundation, was because I wanted to be able to help to fund research for coronary artery disease that develops in these kids with these heart transplants. And, they're so young, they should be able to enjoy the rest of their life. And organ donation is such an important thing because it has its own ripple effect. And when you're saving one person's life, well, you've also changed the lives of everybody that's close to that person, because now it's almost like they've witnessed a miracle in a sense, because there's prayers that have been answered. And I want to be able to make sure that I can be able to keep that going and not have parents that think, my child's going to be okay now that they've had a heart transplant, and just be able to give them a new sense of hope, I guess, and just to prevent what happened to her to happen to other kids. Throughout Jazzy's heart journey, also, she wasn't supposed to live as long as she did. And so she was bringing together just a whole community of people that were just always praying for her, and not even just saying like praying on their own, but literally coming together in groups to make sure they praying for her at the same time. And whenever she did come home from the hospital after her transplant, people would just look at her and just in such awe, like they had witnessed a miracle, because the Berlin heart wasn't necessarily supposed to work for her, and it did. And even though we were stuck in the hospital for about 4 months, she was still able to receive that heart transplant and be able to come home and just be a ray of sunshine for everybody that she came into contact with.
No, that's right. So, how old was she when she passed?
She was 2.5 years old.
Okay. And you said that this was earlier this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long ago?
August 28th is when she passed away. Her 1-year heart anniversary, which what we call it, was in March of this year, and everything seemed to be okay. And that's why it's they know that there's more research that needs to be done and how they can check coronary arteries in a less invasive way, because it's obviously now it's something that can happen fast and not progress really slowly. And but aside from Jazzy Hearts Foundation just wanting to be able to fund research for coronary artery disease, specifically for heart transplant recipients, I want to be able to more in depth be able to share how God played a part in her entire life, and not only just to get to me, because I know for sure that Jazzy was sent here just to save my soul. My whole life I had my doubts about God and kind of going back and forth whether or not he was real and this and that. And my first encounter that I had with him, we were waiting. It was in the hospital. We weren't exactly like stuck per se in there yet. We went in, it was the beginning of 2022 in January. And we went because she had a heart monitor put in because by then she'd already had a few cardiac arrest episodes, and they were hoping to be able to catch some kind of pattern. Well, it was forcing its way out. It didn't want to stay in there, of course. So when we went in it was January 1st of 2022, we went in, and I really thought it was just going to be quick. We go in, they're probably going to want to just take it out, reevaluate, and maybe we get to go home in like a week. One thing led to another. She ended up catching COVID, going into cardiac arrest again. And we went, that's when we knew we were going to be stuck. And I remember being so frustrated, one day in the hospital room. She was already asleep, and I was so frustrated. And like, he just came to me. It was like so loud, like, she is mine. And I had to, realize that I really have no control over what's going on. I'm really just wasting my energy being so upset. I'm separated from the rest of my family. And that was really the first encounter that I had with God. I remember it scared me. I'm not even going to lie. Cause I remember looking around the room like, what is that? Like, what is that voice? And it was such a strong feeling. I remember being shook up. And so ever since then, since I was stuck in the hospital anyway, I really just started, I guess, my spiritual journey, you could say. And, I had more time there. I wasn't busy. I have 2 other kids and a husband at home also. I should have already mentioned them by now, but, my husband was at home holding down the fort, and, my kids play travel ball sports, and we're very, just active in everything they do, even not just the sports, but even with school stuff, making sure that they're going to be successful one day. And so I had more time while I was at the hospital just to focus on Jazzy and focus on, building my relationship with God, because I know now that he's real, because it wasn't just a voice. It was a whole feeling that was inside of me. And, there was another encounter that I had. I don't want to share all of my encounters as I don't want to go too far into detail, but the one that really sticks out the most was, one day I was listening to, the church. We go to North Point Church in Adairsville, and I'm really grateful that they always go live, every Sunday. The services are, so that way I can listen in. Sometimes it didn't always work out for me to listen in while they were live, but I'm always able to go back. And it was late night. Jazzy was already asleep and everything was quiet. And, I can just remember just like taking notes, because that's what I was doing, because I was really just trying to do a lot of learning. And it was like something had just kind of took over my hand. It was really weird. And it was just like, I remember writing off to the side saying, "You will lead them to me." And at the time I had no idea what it meant. It just was like, okay, I know that didn't come from me. I knew it came from God. And I just carried on with my studies and this and that. And now that everything's unfolded the way that it did, I know now that somehow I'm supposed to help people. I really thought it was going to be Jazzy. This last time we were in the hospital for 28 days this past August, I can remember thanking him in advance every single day, because the way that she was bringing people together. I had people telling me they were going back to church. They were building their faith in God. We all just knew she was going to come home. Sorry. I can remember thanking him in advance, because she was bringing people to God, and I was getting to witness it. And so at the time, I thought, when I wrote that down, that I was supposed to help Jazzy do it, because she was going to come home and everybody was going to be in such awe, because this unimaginable thing was happening to her. And, she survived yet again, and everybody was going to get to see her and just look at this little miracle that had from prayers being answered. Now that everything's unfolded, I know that, now it's me doing it, and she's walking alongside me spiritually. But I have to keep that going for her. Her always just testing the boundaries of what medical science can do. I can keep that going by saving other kids' lives, other families' lives, because it's not easy for anybody that's lost a child, anybody that's really lost anybody close to them. So there's just 2 aspects to Jazzy Hearts Foundation. But I guess the biggest hurdle right now is just really just being able to raise the funds. There's another nonprofit called Enduring Hearts. They're on a national level that's also doing the same thing as far as funding pediatric research for heart transplants. But they do a lot of other studies, research for pediatric heart transplants. But I know that I solely want to focus on the cardiac vascular. Goodness, I'm getting my words mixed up. Cardiac allograft vasculopathy. And they are willing to work with me. I just have to come up with $150K, and they will, since they already have, they're already established. They have their own committee of scientists and research cardiologists and things like that. But when we come up with $150K, then they'll willing to work with us through their organization to fund whatever research of my choice, which would be CAV, and be able to have it solely recognized under Jazzy Hearts Foundation.
Well, so if you're listening and you got $150K, we got somebody that needs you. Real quick, so I know you're in the middle of the process of starting the 501c3 because you don't have that yet. No. So there's no tax benefit. Unfortunately, people want that, and it should be just because they have a good heart. But go ahead and share with somebody how they can get a hold of you. If somebody's listening right now and say, "Hey, I want to send you something or help you," how can they do that?
Well, my telephone number is probably the easiest. Calling or text 678-346-5134. We do have a website. It is jazzyhearts.fitapparel.biz. We do also have Facebook. If you just go on Facebook and search on there, Jazzy Hearts Foundation. We're still in the very beginning stages. Like I said, my daughter passed away in August, and we actually started the foundation the day that we had to go in to prepare for her funeral. Like how all of us have already said just a few minutes ago about doing something nice for somebody makes you feel good. And I wanted to know that what happened to us doesn't have to happen to somebody else, you know? And so I also feel good when you do something nice for somebody else. And that was part of the reason why we started it, particularly on that day. I didn't want to have to deal with the thought of planning her funeral. So we are registered through the state. Right now, we're just a domestic nonprofit organization. But we will be a 501c3 very shortly. I recently did a t-shirt campaign. And the funds that were raised from that will be what's going to fund for us to be able to make that happen.
Is that still going on? Can people still go and order t-shirts?
That particular campaign is over with, but people can still order t-shirts through this website, jazzyhearts.fitapparel.biz. So website is a merch store on there with all kinds of different shirts, cool sweater like what I have on right now, all kind of different colors. And the proceeds to that, a portion of the proceeds of that will come directly to us. We're also doing a toy drive. I feel like I have to speak on the toy drive too. I know there's a lot of companies that are doing toy drives right now, but this one we started last year. It was Jazzy's first birthday being at home. It was her second birthday. She spent her first birthday in the cardiac ICU. And, no parent thinks to spend their child's first birthday in the hospital and you don't have anything. We were already there since her birthday is January 14th. So we had already been there a couple weeks. I'm a late planner, I guess. I didn't have like a party or nothing planned yet for her. And, the only thing I could get for her was something from the gift shop. And I was in such awe when, cause we can't sleep in ICU. They have little sleep pods that we slept in, the parents do. And, I can remember early that morning when I got there, her nurses already had it decorated. They had gifts for her. She couldn't eat, because she had just went into cardiac arrest a couple of days ago. So she was on a feeding tube. And, one of the nurses, she made it was a little like a smash cake, you know how they do for 1-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
But she made it with Play-Doh. So that way Jazzy could still have something to smash, even though she couldn't eat it. That was pretty cool. But that was, definitely, it was happy tears that day because just knowing that, they had done that for her, and the gifts came from the hospital, not necessarily from the nurses. Although I don't know, some of the nurses might have purchased some of the gifts. I'm not sure. But that was how I found out real quickly that the hospital gets toys donated here and there for other families, different occasions. Like everything is a ripple effect. Everybody, all the families that have come through there's so many of them that give back, because whoever's currently there, we've been in their shoes. And so I knew that when her second birthday, it was her first birthday at home, came around. Her birthday's right after Christmas too. I was like, well, she doesn't need more toys. And so we did this toy drive because I know there's other kids that are still in the hospital that are spending birthdays there, just like, Jazzy did. And I've seen other kids, have to celebrate birthdays in the hospital. Right. And that's not fun. And it was when they were still having the COVID, regulations and things like that. And so nobody could come. They did make a special arrangement for my husband and my kids to come, which my husband was allowed to come and go whenever. Each patient was only allowed two caregivers at the time, but siblings weren't supposed to be allowed. But we did get special permission since it was her first birthday for her siblings to come visit that weekend. So anyways, yeah, we started the toy drive last year. And I was really surprised at the turnout we had. It was really cool. And it was amazing. For me and Jazzy went to go deliver the gifts over there. They were still under the COVID regulations. So it wasn't like we got to go out and, see anybody, but, just to know that the other kids that spend birthdays, holidays, and I can remember even Jazzy getting gifts sometimes on just the really hard days, and even for the older kids, I'm sure I can't experience that, but because Jazzy was so young when she passed away, but they go through other kind of struggles with them being, teenagers and being stuck in the hospital. And, also, for the kids that are there for a long time, because Jazzy's had admissions that were significantly long, and, you have to keep those kids entertained, you
Right.
know, so they get new toys periodically too. So we just want to make sure that the hospital, the Eggleston, always has a good stock of toys.
So if somebody wants to take part in that, how can they get the toys to you?
The flyer's on the website.
Okay.
And there's different drop-off locations in the Bartow County area. There's also an Amazon wish list on there. The majority of those items on the Amazon wish list are directly from the hospital's wish list. And then I also added some more stuff on there that were toys that Jazzy got while she was in the hospital too. But yes, the events are on that website also, jazzyhearts.fitapparel.biz. Another event we have coming up is a fundraiser night at Henry's, which I know a lot of people are pretty familiar with Henry's. Henry's also, I believe it's a liver transplant recipient. Is it a liver? I couldn't remember. I remember meeting him at it was another, what was it? It was for something for the Georgia Transplant Foundation. It was a fundraiser. Goodness, my words are getting scrambled up. But anyways, that's going to be on January 9th. And we're going to just kind of do that, have our family there as a, I guess, birthday dinner, you know, in memory of her.
Well, I mentioned this to you a couple of weeks ago. We had Stone's wife, Holly, on here, and Holly is a kidney donor. So you need to get with her because I'm sure she'd like to be part of that as well. So
I love hearing stories like that.
You mentioned something about, you know, the way God works, because he does work in mysterious ways, and we never know probably until we get to heaven why certain things happen. Sometimes we can look back and, you know, after several years and seeing, oh, well, that's why that happened.
Yeah.
But you also, and I think, you know, after talking with you and hearing more of your story this morning, your career is dealing with life insurance, right? It's one of the things you do.
It's actually, that is also kind of new. That started because one of the things with being a transplant recipient, any organ transplant, is you have to take certain medications. That's what they call anti-rejection medications. That's pretty much helping to keep you alive by keeping your immune system down to make sure your body doesn't try to naturally fight off the foreign object, which is the new organ that wasn't, there when you were born. So, goodness, I just lost my whole train of thought just then. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. We're talking about life insurance.
Yes, I started that because Jazzy would get sick pretty often. And so she'd be at home, and I'm actually a private chef / caterer. I have a catering company also. That's been on the back burner with having Jazzy at home a lot. And then, of course, being in the hospital. There were times I even had to cancel events, because she would happen to be in the hospital again. So I knew that I had to think of something outside of catering that I could do from home. And that's when I got into life insurance. And I didn't get to, I remember I got my license. I believe it was before she went in August this last time. But I hadn't started my training yet. And so now I'm getting back into that. And so it's still kind of new, kind of fresh, but that's a big near and dear to my heart also, because we have life insurance on our kids, and there's a lot of, benefits that come with that. Even, aside from Jazzy passing away, just knowing that if something ever happens to me, if something ever happens to them, that you don't have to necessarily worry. There's certain things you don't have to worry about, but there's so much more to life insurance than just that. Like even for people it's for anybody, even. And I remember growing up thinking like, oh, it's only, rich people that have life insurance. And that's not the case. And I realized that when I came into my adult life, that it's, life insurance is for everyone. It's just a matter of having the right agent that can help you with whatever your needs are, work with your budget, because you can get life insurance on any budget.
Well, that's important to talk about, because you talked about having life insurance on your kids. My wife and I, we had life insurance on my stepkids, but you never think about, as an adult, have life insurance, but you should definitely have it on your kids.
Right away too, because which normally I probably shouldn't mention this, but we're going through a headache right now with Jazzy's life insurance company. But we got her life insurance before we even knew that she had any kind of heart condition. So I remember like when I was going through the online coursing and learning about life insurance. And so I was playing around with some stuff, trying to figure, I was like, well, what if we would have waited too long? Like what if somebody would have tried to, and she wouldn't have been eligible for any kind of life insurance because of her just being an organ transplant recipient.
Right. So, are you still have the catering business?
I do. Yes.
So what kind of events do you do?
Anything. Yeah.
What's the name of the catering?
Reese's Way.
Ooh, Reese's.
Reese's Way.
All right.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Is it all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
So a question and a statement of encouragement. I'll start with the statement of encouragement so you can answer the question.
Okay.
A statement of encouragement. So I'm a numbers guy, and I'm all about life insurance. The last thing you want to do is worry about going back to work, going back to your job if you have to lose a child. So you have to have money. You have to have resources. So I will champion you all day on life insurance. But my statement of encouragement is being a numbers guy. I know 150,000 can seem daunting. That's 12,500 a month, which is 31.25 a week. I'm a numbers guy. It's $470 a day if you do it 7 days a week. So in 2024, you need to figure out every day how you can get 470. That's it. Just break it down that way. And because 150 is a ton of money and it's frustrating. And I'm sure, you're like, how am I going to get 150? But
I'm honestly not even intimidated by that number.
No, okay.
One of us had said something about not fearing anything, or was that something I heard on the radio on the way here? I don't know, but I guess just through everything that I've been through,
Gotcha.
When I seriously say I fear nothing, and numbers are just numbers.
Just
money
numbers.
is just money.
All right.
It can always be replaced. I don't know. And I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't feel intimidated. I know that I'll get a way to get 150K,
I believe
whatever
you.
it takes. And I was just having a conversation with my husband yesterday. Did I cut you off?
No,
I'm
it's fine.
so sorry.
I have a question, but go ahead.
Oh, I had a conversation with my husband yesterday, and we're just the type of parents, we'll do anything, whatever it takes to make sure that our kids are successful, whatever their definition of success is. It doesn't even necessarily have to be money, and I feel like, and I was telling him this, it didn't occur to me until over the Thanksgiving break that I feel like somehow I've replaced Jazzy with this nonprofit organization. I spend so much time doing so much learning because I'm new to nonprofit. It's kind of different. It's still, I've learned that I need to run it like a business, even though I'm not profiting from it. But whatever it's going to take to make it successful, I'm willing to do. And I love so much that my husband is on board with it, even though sometimes I feel guilty, like I'm slacking being, a mom and a wife at home sometimes because there's certain things that aren't getting done, but he's so supportive and, he's just awesome.
So my question is, have you talked with North Point of Adairsville to allow you to raise money through their nonprofit side so that they can have everything set up on their website? People can give to the church, essentially, make it a tax write-off, and then those funds directly come 100% to you or the organization. Have you talked to your church about doing that so that you can raise money and still it be a write-off for people?
No, I haven't, actually. You're referring to like a fiscal sponsor?
Have the church just be the conduit through which people give.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, as not being a registered 501c3, people who want to give, again, I hate to, and as you said earlier, Brian, people should just want to give, but that's just not how this world works. People want the tax deduction, especially right now with it just being past Giving Tuesday. You're getting to the end of your contributions. People are finding a way to shelter money, get rid of tax liabilities, or just really want to give it away, but want the tax benefit of it too. Would your church be willing to allow you to have the funds received through their conduit and then cut you the check specifically from that? So it doesn't cost them anything, doesn't bother them anyway. It doesn't mess up their books. They receive money. They gave it out. It's a deduction for them as well, but it allows that individual who wants to give to have it considered a tax deduction for them because it's going to a nonprofit, which is the church.
Honestly, I did not even think about that.
That's what we do with the polar bear plunge.
That's what it is.
It's going through Wildlife Action, so it's tax right.
I was trying to look for a fiscal sponsorship because I know the 501c3 is going to be a little bit of a process, and I was trying to have something like that, before the end of the year, because I know a lot of companies are wanting to kind of more likely to give away money at the end before they got to start filing their taxes. I would talk to your church
and see if they would be willing to do that. It doesn't hurt them. I mean, they don't lose anything, don't gain anything. I mean, it's just they're the conduit so that they can get their write-off. Same thing like she said with the polar.
There was a reason why certain companies, so I'm not going to say their names, but the couple companies that I did ask, I just didn't get a response.
That's why. Yeah, that's exactly why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like when we do our nonprofit golf tournaments, we don't get the check because it takes away the ability to say it's a charitable contribution tax deduction. So all of our checks go directly to our nonprofit, and then they compensate us. We get paid. So with the polar bear plunge, it's the same thing. I mean, I wish people would just do it, but they want the write-off. So they get to say they're getting the write-off for the jumping in the lake, but it goes through the tax deduction of the 501c3. So that's something definitely to consider, and doesn't stop you from getting money now and getting more money.
And if not, I know a few people that might be willing to do that for you.
For you. There's people out there.
Tell you, this is why I love this show. This is exactly why I bring more people on here.
Instead of just having one at a time. You were saying that the other day too.
So I got a few other questions for you. So you talked about, well, first of all, I'm going to go back to your catering just for a second. If people want to get a hold of you for a catering, right? I'm sure it's holidays and things. They may have parties or even first of the year. How can somebody get a hold of you for catering?
Honestly, just my phone number.
Okay.
I don't have a website or anything like that yet, but I'm learning all of that stuff now through the nonprofit organization.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a three-part question. It's all advice that I want you to give people, okay? It's 3 parts. The one is it's going to be very kind of personal, but there may be somebody listening who is going through a certain situation that you've gone through with their child. I'd like for you to give them some hope, advice, even if may seem grim on the outcome. It's really, as you said, she was helped 4 other families, right? That's the first part of the question. The second part is give advice on starting a business, because you've done that with your catering and you're doing that with your life insurance, right? And the third part is you're going through the process of becoming a 501c3 nonprofit. Give some advice on what somebody should do to start a nonprofit. If you can't remember those, I'll ask them again. But
okay, the first one is really hitting home because I was going to make sure I said it anyways. I just feel like I always have to tell people that God is going to meet you where you're at, regardless of what it is you're going through. He's going to be with you at the highest part of the mountains, all the way to the deepest lows of the valleys. He's going to be with you, and there's nothing you can really do wrong. There's no manuscript on how you're supposed to grieve. There's however you feel like you have to get your fix, he's still going to meet you where you're at. He's so good, and his goodness is going to come through all of the bad. Everything happens for a reason, and it's all because of the things that he's working, things that he's trying to make happen that we can't see because we're only seeing what's happening right in front of us.
And there's no coincidences.
There's no coincidences.
Hence the reason they just gave you some good advice about finding a nonprofit to do that, right? All right, second question. Give somebody some advice on starting a business.
Just go for it and be prepared to go through the blood, sweat, and tears. You're not going to get compensated in the beginning. You're going to put a lot of time and not going to reap the benefits of it. And so you have to know whatever business it is, what's your reasoning for it?
All right.
Why is it important to you?
And the same thing with the nonprofit. If somebody wants to start a nonprofit, there's a lot to do a nonprofit, more so than I would even say, even just starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that. Yeah.
I mean, you and I sat down and talked yesterday, and I mentioned something about insurance for your nonprofit. That was something you didn't even think about.
That wasn't even on my radar at all. I have insurance for the other stuff, for the other 2 businesses, but not for the nonprofit. I guess I think one of us had already said, I think it might have been you, finding something that you're passionate about. In my case, it's this because it happened to me.
Right.
I want to be able to help other families. I want to be able to be that support system for them if they need somebody to talk to too. So I guess if anybody's listening right now that's recently lost a child, or if you're in the hospital right now, if you could give me a call at 678-346-5134. Sometimes it helps just to know you have somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And when it's somebody that's outside of your circle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I did have that with somebody, and it makes a huge difference.
Right. And I mean, it doesn't matter the time of year. It's tough anytime, but this time of year particularly, reach out to somebody if you need to talk to somebody.
Yes.
All right. Before I get to the last question for everybody, you're fairly new to the Carsville Business Club that we introduced you to. Right. And so I don't know if you've networked any time before that, but do you have a positive story you can share just from your networking, even if it's fairly new?
Before coming to?
Oh, anytime. Okay. Even if it's now or
it's
when.
a more recent one. So Scotland that you had mentioned, she's my husband's, she's my cousin. She's my family. I love her and I love what she does. But she had reached out to me and told me that she came and spoke on this podcast. And so she thought it would be good for me just to, talk about Jazzy Hearts. So I reached out to you, of course, and then you tell me to, you're inviting me to this Cartersville Business Club. And so I go there. And when I go there, I meet Paul and I didn't meet his partner then, but I met Paul, who said that he could help me to build a website and be able to continue selling the t-shirts, which is him and his partner, Rebecca. That's where the fit apparel on the website link, jazzyhearts.fitapparel.biz. They've built this website for me, for Jazzy Hearts, not for me, but it's for this whole Jazzy Heart community is what I like to call it, to where people can go on there and they can purchase the t-shirts, and it's at no cost to me, but they're getting compensated. And then Jazzy Hearts is also getting compensated. And then the logo is getting pushed around for everybody to see also. And that all came from just Scotland sending me a text message. And now I have a website, and through just talking with you, and you put me on game this past Wednesday about the Blink. I think is how you pronounce it. Yep. And so now I have a digital business card, and I got to meet the manager for the new bank that's being opened, and I can't wait to, hopefully be able to work with them. And just it's just a matter of taking the initiative. Somebody's like, hey, I know somebody that does this or this, they might be helpful for you. It's just a matter of you taking that one step to reach out to whoever it is that contact is.
Again, it's not about you, it's helping other people.
Yeah.
And Scotland didn't tell you the story. The reason we know Scotland is because when we did the Northwest Georgia Rising Stars magazine, we did a story on her organization. And that's been 2018.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, real quick, Kimberly, remind everybody the date of the Polar Plunge, and you need to send me the new flyer so I can get it up.
Yes, it is December 17th at 2 p.m. at the on Lake Allatoona off of Kellogg Creek Road.
Okay. Before we wrap this up, there's one other question that I like to do, and it's for all three of you. I'd like for each of you to give either one word. You've done this already, but one word, one quote, or just a positive nugget that people can live the rest of 2023, which is only a few days left, and beyond with. So, Kimberly, I'm going to start with you this time. What do you got?
I'm going to go with our slogan is to put back more than you take, whether that's in nature or family or faith or anything that, you come across in life, put back more than you take.
Awesome. Teresa?
Well, I already shared one little nugget. I feel like the other one is don't be so hard on yourself. Life is just hard in general, and nobody's pain or struggle is necessarily greater than the next. Like sometimes when I recently spoke to one of my friends, and she was saying like she just didn't feel like everybody's going through something. So I think a lot of us feel like we don't want to talk about what it is that we're going, whatever our struggle is, because in my situation, I feel like people look at me like, oh, you lost a child. Like your situation is so much worse than mine. And that's not necessarily the case. Everybody's going through their own pain and struggles, and based off of their own experiences is the extremity of what it feels like, the weight of what it feels like to them. So just don't be so hard on yourself. Life is hard. And as long as you're trying your best, you're doing great.
William?
Maybe a bit inappropriate, just obviously with our indoor space and the fact that it's almost the end of the year and you're trying to push through. It's literally go balls to the walls. And that's literally what we're doing in our space. So
there you go.
More apropos.
There you go. The other thing that's a lost art these days is the thank you. So I want to thank each of you. William, thank you for what you're doing for all the different nonprofits, and specifically in Cherokee County. Kimberly, thank you for what you're doing in the community here in Cherokee and Ackworth. It's Ackworth too. And then Teresa, thank you for what you're doing for all the community in Bartow, but also all the families that you and Jazzy have touched. Everybody out there listening, let's remember, let's be positive, let's be charitable.